teachers, Brother Judd here, and I've got some help for this second lesson with regards to the Living Christ document. So in these lessons leading up to Easter, we're trying to help students focus on Jesus Christ, and we can use Scripture to do so. Now, maybe you're thinking, man, a lot of these lessons, really, they're not in the Doctrine and Covenants. Well, the Living Christ, I hope that we think of that as modern Scripture and that we can use it as such. And so we can study it just like we would encourage our students to study anything else. So when you get into the lesson, I really like this possible learning activity. I'm not really going to suggest anything else, perhaps just a couple of subtle tweaks to it. It says to help students share or prepare to learn, you could bring something that you love and want to share with class. It could be a picture, experience, or a favorite food. Invite students to think of things that they recently shared or wanted to share with something else. My only small tweak to that would be, we'll invite everyone to bring something that they want to share. Say, hey guys, we're going to have a potluck breakfast tomorrow. Everybody bring something small that we can share. Or I want everybody to bring a favorite candy that everybody can share. I want everybody to, doesn't even have to be food related, just anything that you could encourage students to bring to share. Because, you know, if teachers are the ones who are just involved in those readiness activities, well, you're ready, but are they? So figure out some way to invite students to share. And after they share, then you can talk about why did you share it and why did you want to share it. Students share that, and then you get into these two questions. Which reasons on this list about sharing other things can apply to sharing an experience or testimony of Jesus Christ with others? And then are there any specific things, specific reasons that you would like to add to your list for testifying of Jesus Christ? And then you're off and going. And this lesson does a very good job at taking you through this Elder Anderson quote, gets you into 2 Nephi 25:26, which is all about, talk of Christ, rejoice of Christ, preach of Christ, all of that. And then it takes you back into the students they studied the day before the Living Christ document, and it'll send them back in there, identify some truths and whatnot. And then it brings you into these three different activities. Now, you could choose the activity. Hey, our entire class is doing activity A, which is memorizing, activity B, which is making a poster, a meme, or a digital image, or activity C, where you are preparing a talk. I would recommend that you give your students options. You say, all right, guys, choose your own adventure. Or if you want to have fun with it, you could put slips of paper in a hat. One says activity A, or the instructions for activity A, the instructions for activity B, and the instructions for activity C. And they pull one out and they get to work on whatever it is. I would probably let my students pick. I'd say, hey, I've got 3 different types of activities. We're going to spend probably the next 15 to 20 minutes on this activity, so pick one that you like. And then encourage students to either A, memorize, B, make a digital picture, poster, or a meme. You'll have to provide some supplies for that or some know-how if they choose to go the digital route. Make sure they know how to use the church's media library so that they can pull images from there. And then preparing a talk there in C. They could pull something out of the Living Christ and prepare a talk around that they would be. Then you could encourage the bishopric to invite them to share in sacrament meeting sometime. And then giving students opportunity, time to share there at the end. And so that's really what this lesson is all about. Let me give you some more specifics with regards to each of these 3 activities. So with activity A, memorizing, lots of memorization techniques out there. You can watch this video about memorizing the Living Christ, this goal-setting ideas. It shows this girl's story about how she tried to memorize the Living Christ. You can go all over the internet and find different ways to help students memorize things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one. As far as making posters, memes, or digital images, I would suggest that you prepare one first so that you can give students a model. And you can say, hey, you could do something like this. You could do it on your phone, and if you're good at that kind of stuff, you could just show them real quick how you did that on your phone. Now, if you spend too much time on the here's what I did, then you'll probably spoil the stew, and you will make all of your students want to do what you just did, which is perfectly fine. But just know that if your explanation takes a really long time, students may feel like, oh man, Sister Smith, she spent a long time on that. That's probably the one that she wants me to pick. So just be careful with that, okay? And you can, watch a YouTube tutorial or something on, how to make digital images, or go to the church's Instagram site and look at, see what theirs look like, and then you can invite the students to pattern theirs off of what are on the church's social media properties. Here for the last one, to prepare a talk. Were I a young person, this would probably be the one that I would choose. This is a way that I regularly study the gospel, is that I will read something, I'll digest it, I'll think about it, and then I will try and prepare a talk that goes along with it. Now, I have a very basic method for writing a talk, and it follows this an acronym of TEST. And so the first thing you do is T is you write out the truth. Here's the truth that I want to teach. E stands for experience. I then share an experience I have had with that truth. S stands for scripture, where I share a scripture that teaches the truth of the experience I just shared. So in the experience, I just share the experience that hints in that direction, and then I let the scriptures do the teaching. In this case, it will be the Living Christ document. And then the last T in test is testify, where you share your testimony. So you can share that with students, just right up on the board, TEST, very basic, truth, experience, scripture, testify, and that gives them a little model for how to write and how to deliver a talk. It's also, it's public speaking 101. Tell them what you're going to tell them, T. Tell them, and then tell them, that would be the E and the S, and then tell them what you told them, that would be the last T, testify. And so you may want to give them an example of, you could write a talk before class as well and say, here's just a quick, 3-5 minute talk that I got ready. You don't have to read the whole thing to them. But students, I think in these kinds of independent learning experiences where students are expected to do an activity on their own or in small groups, if you can provide them a model and show, hey, I've already done this, usually goes a really long way. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoy Easter week as we lead up to the celebration of Easter, and that we're following President Oak's admonition to try to do something special with the Easter season. So I hope this training was helpful for you, and I will have another one for you next week. So until then, take care.